My name is Adrian Pagdin from AJP Consulting. Welcome to our e-learning series on project management. Each module is designed as a refresher for one of the key topics, tools or techniques on project management, starting with completing a terms of reference through to completing project closure and lessons learned. Capsule number 8, Risk. The objective of this 5-minute capsule is to refresh your prior learning and to provide you with the confidence and competence to effectively apply risk management in your projects. I want to start off with a refresher on the purpose and objective of risk management. Imagine being responsible for a project that is committed to and has 10 days to deliver a security patch for a business critical application. Imagine also that there's only one person who has the ability to make that change within your organization. What risks would you identify? Most would identify the single point of failure in the change agent. Imagine then that on day 10, the change agent is unavoidably detained and unable to come. Imagine the noise coming from the business area, and then the sponsor arrives. What are we going to do? They ask. Imagine then that you're able to point to a substitute conducting the change agent's activities. How? They might ask. You had a second person working with the change agent, observing and learning to be able to step in for exactly this situation. How good would that feel? Well, that's what risk management is all about. Identifying events that could pose risks to the configuration of time, cost and quality, and then countering those risks with appropriate actions. The process is described in the model at the bottom of the page. Once the risk event has been identified, we need to qualify and quantify the risk before we can plan and take appropriate actions. So let's look at likelihood and impact. By way of illustration, let's go back to the scenario that we were exploring earlier. We've identified the risk of our change agent not being able to conduct their duties. What is the likelihood of this happening? Given my experience on a scale of 1 to 5, I would say a 2. It's possible, but it's not likely. Now you may have a different view of the likelihood and rate it as a 4 out of 5. My point here is that the risk ratings need to be reliable and applied in the same way across the project team. The table displayed on the slide is a guide to agreeing and defining a rating scheme for likelihood. The same issue in solution applies to rating impact. What is the impact of our change analyst not arriving? There are time impacts. For example, 1 day would be a 10% delay. There would also be impacts to the user base, reputation, and significant costs if the business area were unable to conduct business or to do so exposed to security risk. Clearly the impact is high, but it is demonstrably high against the agreed criteria rather than being based on a hunch or subjective rating. Moving on, we've identified that the likelihood of our change agent missing 1 or more days as having a likelihood of 2 out of 5 and an impact of 3 out of 5. We can also calculate the financial impact of the event, trading desk or business area not being able to trade for a day or so, or doing so with a manual patch at X pounds per day. If the total cost of the risk is £50,000 and there is a 40% likelihood, then the risk exposure could be calculated at £20,000. In this case then, so long as the mitigating actions cost less than £20,000, then they could be argued to be appropriate. In this case, training up a substitute has the benefits of low cost and high quality compared to, say, having a second agent on standby that has not benefited from working closely with the in-person. Okay, so let's bring all that together in a risk log. You can see the risk, delays caused by inclement weather. We can see the trigger, snow, stopping work. The PM has identified 3 potential actions, all of which have a positive, reducing, effect on the risk factor. Factor in a time delay, don't work in winter months and mothball the project, or front load the exterior works. The one that has the greatest positive impact with the least cost is option 3. The risk is mitigated without any knock-on effects. There may be some additional costs to assume for the front loading, but the project will be delivered on time. Returning to previous risk logs is a great starting point for future similar activities. I would highly recommend retaining a personal risk log for your own benefit. So 3 final slides by way of closing. Risk management is a way of life for project managers, and incorporating it from the start in projects will enhance greatly the chances of success. Focus on resolving risks, agree a consistent way of evaluating risks, and then finally maintain risk logs for lessons learned. We hope that you've enjoyed this capsule. Please feel free to browse our other online resources, and if you'd like to know more about open or in-house workshops, please contact us.